Smug, woke Oregon teacher warns fellow teachers that they will be fired if they don't immediately join the CRT bandwagon. Someone call a tailor. Nazi uniforms just don't look good on African American fascists. Maybe it's something in the size of a Gaddafi? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Before we start, I want to welcome a new sponsor, Mike Lindell and My Pillow. This guy is a hero. He has a great backstory. He's a wonderful Christian. He has a all-American business. You've heard now of his signature pillow. Whenever I think of Mike Lindell, I think of that pillow right here and the hand fluff, right? Signature pillow. Deemed the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. In addition, My Pillow also features a collection of other fine items from towels and bed sheets to bathrobes to dog beds. And right now, you can save up to 66% when you visit mypillow.com and use the promo code Dr. Duke. I have arrived on the scene I'm a personality, Katie. I have an access code. Dr. Duke, D-R-D-U-K-E, will buy you cheap pillows. Again, the promo code is Dr. Duke. So please head over to mypillow.com, buy lots and lots and lots and lots of pillows. Have a pillow fight, bill a fort, whatever you got to do. Save up to 66%, and you'll be supporting the Dr. Duke Show. That's why the code is DRDUKE. Today, on the Dr. Duke Show, we head to Oregon, where the woke scolds are making a run for the dumbest education in the system. We thought Virginia had it wrapped up, but on the outside, here comes Oregon, and they're really stupid and racist. Here comes Oregon, right up on the red. It's going to be neck and neck. Oregon and Virginia, Oregon and Virginia, and Oregon.
Well, I guess you give it to them. Okay, well, an Oregon 8th grade teacher was on a Zoom video, as they always are, and she decided she needed to warn/lecture her fellow teachers about how they're going to get fired if they don't, come to the light. You have to become anti-racist. Let's just watch the video.
Before you do, one thing, go back to the picture. I was under the impression when I read the story she was black because she's appropriated a black headdress. Turns out that Little Miss Do What I Tell You is actually a white girl. So as you're listening, as you're being lectured to, understand that it's a white girl appropriating black dress who's doing it.
The woman, the teacher, is named Catherine Watkins. She's a humanities teacher at Cedar Park Middle School in Beaverton School District. Here we go.
Catherine Watkins, 8th grade humanities teacher at Cedar Park Middle School, and my pronouns are she, her, we, and us. I'm going to say something that's not nice and not sweet, but it's true. If you're not evolving into an anti-racist educator, you're making yourself obsolete in this field of profession. Our district is only getting browner and browner with our children. And so if, obviously you can't change your melanin, all right, but you can change your mind so that you can actually function in a district that is full of BIPOC children. So if you're being resistant, I understand that, but you're going to have to eventually come to the light, because if you're going to keep with those old views of colonialism, it's going to lead to being fired, because you're going to be doing damage to our children, trauma. And so as we fire the teachers who sexually abuse our children, we will be firing the teachers who do racist things to our children, traumatize them. And while our district might not be completely on there, OEA is working on it, all right? NEA is working on it. And so it's just a matter of time. So it's like you either evolve or dissolve.
So the white girl in the African clothing actually says that if you're a white teacher who does not join the CRT bandwagon, it's as if you were abusing children sexually. We fire teachers who sexually abuse our students. We fire white teachers who refuse to teach like anti-racist teachers. So again, now, if you're a white teacher, unless you're her, right? Because that was the most sorority girl voice accent I think I've ever heard. She's giving the Valley Girls a run for her money in her little African headdress.
I'm glad you used her appropriate pronouns of She, her, we, and us. The simple fact that I don't know if she's saying, you need to come to the light because that's what will make you more tan and darker because they're becoming more darker and browner, as she said. That might make it. But you know what? She wasn't the only one. You saw all those. All those teachers.
Could you go back real quick just to show the frame of everybody there, Mike? How many of them are white? I mean, there's one outside of the person signing. You got one white dude in the whole room. She's whiter than almost everybody else in the room. And she's lecturing them on how they have to become anti-racist teachers. Once again, as I said yesterday, all of this left-wing critical race theory is all about white people who are good liberals getting to keep their bona fides.
Well, and here's the deal. With all those people, they were all on the call because they're the leaders for their respective schools about how to push all this critical race theory thing into their own classroom. So makes sense. Now, one of those people was Stephanie Yelder, who is a learning specialist who introduced herself as, she says, I go by one noun, queen. When she introduced herself, she says, I go by one noun, queen. And her pronouns are she, her, and hers. And she wants teachers to give the feels, and also that she likes Dove chocolate. So let's just listen to Stephanie Yelder.
So now use this and say, hey, you sent me to learn this, and now I'm implementing it. I am a good educator, and I care. Our students really need us to really stand up, and they need to see it. They need to see it demonstrated, and they can feel it. They can feel it. They see it in what you present to them, and they deserve it. And so do colleagues. We can talk about it, but I guarantee you, when 4 o'clock hits, I'm probably going to be in the bed with my Dove chocolate because of all the feelings. It's just not words, and it's just not like, hey, let's change the curriculum. This is real life. If I say I'm hungry, give me some food, good food, organic and vegetables and fruit, please. But give it to me. Don't say, oh, you'll be okay. Just take your time, wait a while, and it will come. I can't wait for the tree to grow. There's orchids everywhere. Give it to me now.
What in God's holy name?
And if you're confused by that small clip, I dare you to go back and watch the entire thing because the entire thing's up on YouTube. And not everyone, most of the people who spoke, especially the one who seemed to be the, commentator for the whole thing, it doesn't make sense. It's confusing. What are they talking about? That's all one clip. Their mind is just...
How is it possible that she can say the word queen, but the word feel comes out Phil?
I have no idea.
How does that work?
But she likes Dove chocolate. But she also likes...
Whose pronouns are Dove chocolate?
She also likes veggies and organic.
And orchids.
Anyway, this is what all these people in this group did. And I wanted to bring in our friend Stephanie Yelder because she's just a second example to what all of them were saying.
Give it to me. I want it. I need it. Give it to me. And the other thing is that, do you notice all this chatter we keep hearing? What they mean by change the curriculum is not changing one math paradigm, one writing paradigm, one history paradigm for another. It means replacing actual discipline studies with more and more this kind of talk. You're going to send these kids to these Beaverton schools in Oregon, and what they're going to get is not adding and subtracting, not grammar and pronouns, and they'll get pronouns, but not grammar. They're not going to be getting actual history. What they're going to be getting is all of this new age social justice. Let's light a candle. Let's be the whitest woman in the room with the bluest African headgear on themselves. And let's talk about Dove chocolate and changing the world. And my name is Queen. That's the only noun you need to know. Now give it to me. Give it to me.
I will not. But this is important because it relates to the next story. The superintendent, Don Groding, said, we are undeterred. The Beaverton School District is taking action steps on the road to becoming an anti-biased, anti-racist school district. Stay tuned. And we're back at the Beaverton School District in Oregon, where we were about a month before Catherine Watkins' little comments on the Zoom video. So let's take ourselves 1 month prior to those comments being said.
Can we have a little swoosh action motion for the video? A little beaver? Whoosh. sweep across the scene, take us a month earlier in Beaverton, Oregon.
All right. Well, we have an anonymous teacher who sent a recording to a parent of a Zoom call, and then that was sent to the Daily Wire. Now, it's kind of like anonymous and sending it to this one channel to get to another channel because, that's how these teachers are. They're afraid. Now, in an equity committee meeting back in January, we're back to Superintendent Don Groding. He stated, "I do want the message to get out there that this anti-racism training isn't optional anymore. We waited for the willing, and if you're not willing, then maybe this isn't the right place for you to work. Maybe we can free up your future, because if we're going to become an anti-racist school district, it can't just be a few people. It needs to be everybody, to include our staff, our students, our community, eventually everyone."
Yet what gives them the right to unilaterally decide these things?
He has superintendent in front of his name. He's super.
He comes out of a phone booth with his superintendent shirt, right? I don't know what gives him this superpower that he can just decide that we've decided. We're not paying for this. You're paying for it, Mom and Dad. They're not our kids. They're your kids. We don't really have a right to them outside of classroom time. But we've decided we're going to hijack your kid's public school education. And if he doesn't come to public school, he'll be truant. And we'll take them away from you. And so we've decided that your public school kid is going to do what we tell them, which isn't really, and here's the thing, Mom and Dad, school is not school anymore. School is about dragging them into our own weird, racist, race-obsessed world. We're going to teach your kids to think just like we do. So what they're saying basically is that you've seen this rogues gallery, right? You've seen Catherine Watkins, you've seen Queenie, you've seen Superintendent Grottinger, right? And this is the world your kid's going to spend his day in? Who's going to teach your kid reading, writing, and math? These people are lunatics. Their only thing that is on their mind is breaking your kids down racially.
And you missed one person on that list. Mark Siegel, the communications director at the Oregon Department of Education, said the Beaverton School District and Superintendent Groding are taking important steps to ensure all students are welcome, recognized, and safe in their schools. Beaverton School District is a diverse school district with more than half of its students identifying as students of color. It is important that the district provide a culturally responsive and sustaining space for students to learn and thrive. The district is taking positive steps in that direction by taking action to address institutional racism to better ensure our schools serve all students, families, and staff.
What does that mean? What institutional? What institutional racism are you talking about? Are you telling me all of those teachers up until just the death of George Floyd were all racists? We're all teaching your kids radical right-wing ideology? We're focused so deeply on math and science that Oregon Beavers, the Oregon Beavertons, are the number one school in Oklahoma and Oregon? No, they're not. None of those things were true. George Floyd dies, and now, right, now we realize what? We didn't save his life. We weren't there on that street in Minneapolis, all in force protecting him. What are you talking about? What institutional racism? You already have a school district that is more non-white than white. And your answer to that is to further minoritize the whites, to make sure that there's nothing even remotely like what might be considered white curriculum for those kids, because that would be racist.
Now, what's kind of fascinating about this is, according to a parent in the same district, the teachers who are they're afraid to speak up about what's going on. And the ones who are most afraid to speak up are actually the liberal Democrat teachers, because they actually feel like they have the most to lose. So if you're going so far that even the liberal Democrats are scared to speak up about the insanity that is, how far over the edge have you gone?
Well, you go back to that first bracket that Mike showed us of this young white woman in her African hat lecturing everybody. There she is, and you've got one other white male, and you've got a host of Asian and African American type people, and the little white girl is lecturing them with her fake dashiki, or whatever you want to call it, about how all those minority teachers can be fired. If they're not evolving, they're dissolving.
And we're not going anywhere. We're staying in Oregon, where the Gresham-Barlow School District in Gresham, Oregon, wants to fly the Black Lives Matter and the Pride flags, with still the American flag, I guess, at each of their facilities and within their own classrooms. So let's just flag up every classroom. And the school board, they had to take it to the school board. The school board actually tabled the vote on the measure that had been led by the progressive members. Now, in the proposed revised policy, without getting into the weeds of it, they want the U.S. flag to still be there, but in this whole policy, they wrote that a National League of Families POW/MIA flag, a progressive pride flag, and a Black Lives Matter flag shall be displayed on or near each building or under the blah, 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 the technical stuff. They want the Oregon flag, the National League of Families, the progressive, the Black Lives Matter, all of these flags to be flown in any and every classroom if they want. So what had to happen, though, is they tabled it because they want to make sure, legally and all that. And the progressive school board members, the ones who authored this whole thing, were so offended and got so upset.
It is our role as the board to really set the values of the district. We are setting the values that our LGBTQIAI communities are very important with the progressive flag. We are setting the value that Black Lives Matter, and that these things are not for discussion, they're not for debate, that this is our value. We said we were anti-racist. We said that we would do anti-racist work, and this is what it looks like.
Wait, who decided that you were going to do this without no debate, no discussion? Who decided that you were going to become all those progressive things? Because that's what we do here, and no one's going to challenge us. And we don't really care about the damn law. We're going to fly our flags in your kids' faces. I go back to, again, if Trump were president and some school board out there tried to get the MAGA flag to fly, it would be the end of life as we know it. But this is what's so fascist about these people. The way they talk. This is who we are. Our job is to set the tone. We're the ones, right? We're moms and dads. We're business people who are elected to the school board. It's our job to model for everybody else how schools are going to become places of left-wing activist indoctrination, and no one can tell us no, and no one can debate that. Mom and Dad, if you're watching this and you leave your kids in these schools, you got no one to blame but yourself.
Well, she wasn't the only progressive member on the board to question it. Her fellow member, Amanda Orozco Beach, said she wanted to dissuade any further public comment on the issue because she says, I don't want to hear any arguments or anything because that's just ugly. And she said it's important that the classrooms have the flags because there are, quote, a lot of people in the country who do not feel represented with the American flag, the Oregonian flag, and she scoffed. I don't think anyone in our district would really identify with the POWMIA flag.
Right.
And she says, so I just think that representation matters. It's really important that we make a stance. Now, I don't think she has any understanding of what the
representation means.
American flag stands for, what the Oregonian flag or the POWMIA flag. I can't with these people. I can't.
It's time now for some real education. Really pleased that we're dedicating this week at the instant classic portion of the Dr. Duke Show to the late, great Walter E. Williams, the African-American, outspoken, conservative, college professor, everything you wouldn't expect a very smart African-American man to be. He challenged all of those norms, all of those places where conservative African-Americans, conservatives in general, weren't welcome. He went where he wanted to go, said what he wanted to say, and I want to share with you today on the Walter E. Williams segment of the Dr. Duke Show some of his great quotes. So let's take I've introduced him to you before. He was born in 1936, passed away in 2020, had a good long life. He was the John M. Olin Distinguished Professor of Economics at George Mason University, a long-read syndicated columnist and author, known for his classical views, and a great guest host on the Rush Limbaugh Show back in the heyday. So take a look at some of these great quotes from Walter E. Williams. He says, quote, I believe our nation is at a point, and this is very, very prescient. I believe our nation is at a point where there are enough irreconcilable differences between those Americans who want to control other Americans and those Americans who want to be left alone. That separation, perhaps, is the only peaceable alternative. Just as in marriage, where vows are broken, our rights guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution have been grossly violated by a government instituted to protect those rights. These constitutional violations have increased independent of whether it has been a Democrat or a Republican in control of Washington. That's a great point. I mean, at what point is peaceful separation? Let those who would be left alone to govern themselves in liberty and opportunity separate from those who see government as a tool of control and the wearing down of those who like liberty and freedom. And how about this quote? There are people in need of help. Charity is one of the nobler human motivations. The act of reaching into one's own pockets to help a fellow man in need is praiseworthy and laudable. Reaching into someone else's pocket to do the same thing is despicable and worthy of condemnation. Let's stop with the idea that social justice, money stealing from transfers of wealth, that's anything like Christian charity. Far too many people in our culture are pretending that if Jesus were alive today, he'd be a Ted Kennedy, spend other people's money kind of guy. It just doesn't work that way. Walter Williams is exactly right about that. So those two quotes give us a lot to think about. One is, have we reached the point where those who want freedom and those who don't simply need to part ways? And number two, let's stop creating charity, conflating charity, which is personal individual choice to be generous, from what the IRS does every April with a gun to people's heads.
Okie dokie, just a quick reminder to please download our Freedom Project Media app. All you have to do is search Freedom Project in your app store and then hit the little download button. And if you enjoy our content, please support us by joining the Patriot Club and be a cool kid. Your one-time $99 tax-deductible donation allows us to bring you all these lovely, lovely stories each and every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up, and as a little token of our gratitude, we will send you a token in the form of a signature tumbler as our thank you. Now, we want to take a moment to show some love to our Patriot Club members. And today, we'd like to give a shout out to April from Milton, New Hampshire. Thank you, April, for supporting us.
And that wraps up this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.